What if I told you that a single family has more power than most governments? I'm talking about a dynasty that has for over a century secretly been pulling the strings of an entire nation. Today, we're diving deep into the story of the Annales and how they built an unbelievable empire right out in the open. So, who are the Agnellis really? Well, you can think of them as Italy's industrial royalty. Seriously, when you think of Italian excellence, chances are you're thinking of something they own. That roar of a Ferrari, that's them. The ruggedness of a Jeep, also them. The sheer class of a Maserati, you get the picture. But their car empire is just the start. They also control The Economist, one of the most influential magazines on the planet. And Juventus, a soccer club that's basically a national religion. The reach is just staggering. And this power isn't just about culture or brand names, it's woven right into the fabric of Italy's economy. The family's holding company, Exor, has its hands in so many key industries that it basically holds sway over a huge chunk of the country's stock market. We're not just talking about influence here. This is the kind of power that can literally help decide if an entire economy grows or crashes. So the big question is, how did one family get this much control? I mean, how is that even possible? It's a journey that really shows you what power is all about. It all started with an idea that at the time must have sounded completely insane to build cars for a country that barely had any roads. But from this tiny factory in Turin, they would go on to build the very heartbeat of Italy's industrial might, and everything starts with this one word, Fiat. It was founded back in 1899 by Giovanni Agnelli, a guy with a military background and this just uncanny ability to see opportunity where everyone else saw chaos. He didn't just get into the car industry. For Italy, he practically invented it. Agnelli's rise was, well, meteoric. He started as a junior partner but took full control in no time. In just a handful of years, Fiat went from making a couple dozen cars to over 1,000 a year. They even opened a dealership in New York. He brought in modern assembly lines and precision tools, stuff that totally changed the game for Italian manufacturing. But you know how it goes. That kind of explosive success came with a huge scandal. In 1908, the company got slammed with accusations of cooking the books and manipulating stock prices. Giovanni Agnelli himself was put on trial, facing charges that could have completely torpedoed his entire empire right then and there. This right here, this was the moment that forged the family's entire approach to power for the next 100 years. Even though he was acquitted, this scandal left a deep mark on Agnelli. It made him more strategic, way less trusting, and just far more calculated in everything he did from that day forward. Okay, so armed with this new, more calculated mindset, Agnelli was ready for his next act, learning how to turn the absolute chaos of politics and war into rock solid corporate security. When World War I exploded across Europe, Agnelli saw a massive opportunity. He tied Fiat's fate directly to Italy's war effort, locking in enormous military contracts. The company's factories started pumping out trucks, tanks, and airplanes, and the profits were just astronomical. But making that kind of money from a war comes with a price. Soon, loud accusations of war profiteering started flying around. Agnelli's name was being dragged through the mud all over again, and he knew he needed a very powerful friend to protect his empire. And this is where we see the payoff from their most dangerous alliance. Agnelli started funneling money to a rising political firebrand, Benito Mussolini. So when Fiat came under investigation for profiteering, Mussolini in return just made the whole problem disappear. The records were gone. This became their signature move, survival above all else. During World War I, Fiat was building war machines for Mussolini and Nazi Germany. But as soon as the tide of the war started to turn, Agnelli cleverly switched his allegiance to the Allies. After the war, yeah, his assets were seized for a bit. But in the end, Fiat was just seen as too important to Italy's reconstruction to be taken apart. So after the war, a new generation stepped up, led by Giovanni's incredibly charismatic grandson, Gianni Agnelli. He was a huge figure in Italy's post-war economic boom, but he also learned a really tough lesson about the limits of just being an industrial giant. Gianni took Fiat global. He even cut a massive deal to build a factory in the Soviet Union during the Cold War. Pretty wild stuff. But his ambition slammed into a brick wall in France. He tried to buy Citroën, a move that would have given him control of Europe's roads. But the deal was personally shot down by the French president, Charles de Gaulle. That failure with Citroën was a huge wake-up call for Gianni. He realized that owning all the factories and employing hundreds of thousands of people, it just wasn't enough. A single politician's decision could wipe it all out. He understood then that to truly secure the empire, he had to control not just the machines, but the narrative itself. And that's when they made a very deliberate pivot from the factory floor to the front page. Gianni started small, buying his hometown newspaper. Decades later, the family's holding company bought up Italy's biggest media group, and then in 2015, the year they went global. That's right. In 2015, Exor became the single largest shareholder in the Economist Group. This gave them an incredibly powerful megaphone to influence the global conversation. Think about it. By shaping the content of one of the world's most respected publications, they could directly influence the thinking of presidents, prime ministers, and CEOs all over the world. Now, today, under the family's current leader, Gianni's grandson, John Elkin, the dynasty has evolved again. They perfected a new, much more subtle form of power, one that's perfectly designed for the 21st century. You can see their whole new strategy laid out right here. They've shifted from tangible things like factories to intangible ones like information and influence. Instead of just building cars, now they focus on shaping policy. Instead of old school industrial dominance, they're chasing information dominance. They also understood the incredible power of emotion. By owning Juventus, the country's most adored soccer club, and Ferrari, the ultimate symbol of Italian prestige, they literally embedded their family name into the hearts and minds of the Italian people. That kind of cultural power is, in many ways, worth more than any factory. So today, John Elkan's strategy is playing on multiple levels. He helps create elite lobbying groups to whisper in the ears of politicians in Brussels. He moved the company's legal headquarters to the Netherlands for more flexibility. He invests in data companies to see the future of market trends. He is not on the factory floor. He operates in the quiet back rooms where the rules of the game are written long before the public ever hears about them. And what's the result of all this? It's a dynasty that has managed to transform a national industrial legacy into a quiet, continent spanning power that shapes markets, shapes narratives, and shapes policy. They've outlasted kings and dictators, all without ever needing to get elected to a single public office. And that leaves us with one last pretty provocative thought. It really makes you question where true power comes from. Is Europe really built on the foundations of democracy? Or is it built on the quiet, unending influence of powerful dynasties that simply never went away?